Man, it's so good to be with you, Pastor Jeff Little. Come on. We are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and we are at Milestone Church. My goodness, 20 years old.
20 years old, just celebrated last fall.
And the sound of construction is going on right now.
Yeah, it's in the final moments. It's really intense right now.
So tell me about Milestone. Tell me the heartbeat, the why behind the what. People know you, they hear your preaching, they see your books and the leadership that you write. But what is at the heart of what we're seeing here?
Well, I mean, we're really excited. In fact, it's hard to imagine really when you see where we are from a facility standpoint. This is our main campus. We have a couple other campuses.
How many campuses?
Three
Okay.
campuses, yeah. It's really, when you look back 20 years, it's hard to believe that you're at this point. But really, as we know, it's more than facilities. It's this weekend, there were people here navigating all the construction. And it's a new thought that I have.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Milestone,
it's a new thought.
Milestone's like a fusion restaurant. It's like, you know, when you get like Asian and Mexican, you get this. It's two things that are rarely together. Intentionality, people appreciate the deliberateness, the intentionality to serve them, but they're surprised by the authenticity. They're surprised by the kind of home feel, the family feel. And I think they're even more surprised as you get bigger, as you can still 100%. Maintain that relational, connective feel.
Because that's what everybody thinks. It gets big, we do big buildings, we do expansions, we enlarge the parking lot. No one cares anymore.
No.
And that is really, to me, being around you, being around like a Pastor Chris, a Steve, a John Siebling, it's the care part that is the motive to everything. Of course, the gospel, but it's caring for people in everything we're doing.
Because really size, I mean, things in our culture, there are things that we access that have gotten bigger. I mean, we have a Costco, we have different ways, but yet what we're surprised by, I think, in our culture today is the individual attention or connection or help or just caring about me. And really, you can go to a small church that feels cold or a big church that feels cold. It really, it's really culture. So the thing that I love the most, I'm amazed by all this because it can serve people. But it's not what I love the most. I still meet people and I'm like, I can't believe you go to our church. I can't believe, because I remember when nobody came.
Yeah, exactly.
20 years ago, we started in a cafetorium. Just south of here. Wow. And nobody came. People stayed away and drove.
Yeah, they did.
You know?
Same here when we started Healing Place.
Yeah.
They were trying to avoid it.
They're trying to avoid it.
So how do you sum up Milestone in like a sentence or two? What's the heartbeat? What's the mission? What's your statement?
Well, our statement is reaching people and building lives.
Love that.
Again, fusion, a place that reaches lost people, cares about lost people, because Jesus cares about lost people, but builds people as well. Sometimes people feel like, well, is this place deeper? Can I get built? Can I grow? But then they know the commission to reach lost people. And then sometimes you're reaching lost people, and people feel underconnected or like they don't matter. So it's the fusion of those two things, and life-giving and spirit-filled. And
you really, we talk a lot, and you've become a great friend of course, Church of Highlands, ARC, the Serve World. We do a lot in the Serve World together. Your church is an example. But what you just said to me is what I feel like you work on every day. Is that fusion. It's like something you and Brandy, the family, you have an amazing team. It's like y'all really work on it every day.
Very hard, very hard. I mean, right now in this construction, it's been double effort. You know, helping people. We learned something this last week, just simple. When people came and we had 300 people in the commons because we've got seats out and stuff. We just had this idea, well, let's just tell them right up front. And so we just put a video up, said, hey, we want you to know this is where we're at. This is what your experience is. This is our heart for you. Hey, give us a chance. Wait a few more weeks.
There's more seats coming.
It's coming. But I think when people know, same way if I come to your house, you and DeLynn have such hospitality. I come over, we're friends. Well, you guys have prepared for me to be there. You're like excited that I'm there. You've prepared, it's intentional, and it creates the atmosphere of value.
You're a great leader. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but God's really using you. I've watched, of course, everybody says, look how known Jeff's become these years. Well, it's a long time. And how long does it take to build this church? 20 years, every single day.
Every day.
The same with every great church that honors God and loves people. But God's really using you. And we're just so excited. I'm so proud of you, your heart for people. Genuine, love pastors, love church planters.
Yes.
And one thing you did on it, let's walk over here because we're thinking about the expansion.
Okay.
You did something I've never seen. I came here to speak one time, and you took me out the back door and you began to paint the picture of the expansion.
Yeah.
And you almost got emotional when you thought about those parking places.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it made me. We had I don't know if you remember having an emotional moment back there. Two big men crying. And you were thinking about the families that are going to ride up here.
Yes.
And go to park in a parking place.
Yes.
That other people provided before they came.
Yes.
And a lot of that, and you wrote that devotion, that small group called Seeds.
Seeds,
which I read it. I've read it over and over because seed is potential.
Right.
No potential, no seed. But why does that still moves you? The idea of a family pulling up in a parking place that someone else provided through their tithe and offering, kind of recapture that idea of this expansion that we're getting ready to walk through and how people gave before the people walked into it.
Well, I mean, that's the history of our church. I mean, I am the most blessed pastor. I genuinely look at our people and I say, you're amazing, you're generous. I told them that when there was 50, 100, and I tell them over and over, thank you for being you, because at the end of the day, a great church is not a great you got to have a pastor, you got to have a leadership team. Our staff is amazing. I have great friends and mentors and big brothers, but a great church is great people who get it. And we have a whole group of people just along the way. The families just continue to grow. And we've always had parking problems. I mean, just after we got out of the cafetorium, we were in a little rented building and it was 1,000 seats, 1,000, it was just people and no parking and on the grass. And then we moved to a grocery store and we came here. But yes, the thing that still amazes me, a group of people that love other people that they've never met.
Not here yet.
To this project, almost $21 million has been given cash to make this expansion happen. And honestly, I was hoping we could raise 12, 14 million. I've been
Which is a boat ton, OMG.
I mean, this is truly one of those, I am able to do exceedingly abundantly above. But you know what it is? It's the power of the church. It's everyone doing their part. The Bible talks about the church grows, it builds itself up in love. I mean, everybody's like, well, it's getting bigger. Well, it's more love. I do know that. There's more problems.
That's a point.
But
That's a point.
There's more love, but it only happens, and here's the caveat, as each part does its work. When everyone feels a part. And really for me, I mean, yes, I preach, I do different things. I'm a team builder, right? I feel like if we have a team, we're stronger. Teams win championships. This is a miracle property because land here, obviously, there's not 50 plus acres just sitting on every corner. And we had a miracle happen where a home builder group here this land became available, bought the land for $1.89 a square foot. 54.5 acres, $4.5 million. We had an offering on one Sunday and our church gave $2.2 million. Wow. And we came and bought the property, and then, of course, the process of development. I mean, the challenges of developing the property. But this was really a miracle thing. We were able to build the capacity of the auditorium for 2,500 seats. Okay. But it's not the seats that are just expensive, it's the parking and all the other infrastructure. So we put the current children's facility in place. The expansion is adding the 900 seats to the auditorium, but then all of the kids' facilities and things to go with it now in the parking.
And so you've added about 60,000 square feet, 65,000?
Somewhere in there,
Somewhere in there. Let's walk in because this is amazing.
I would have loved this.
Wouldn't you? We would all loved it.
I would have loved this.
Yeah, and so your heart, you guys, I think you understand reaching students. And so that's a big deal for you. I mean, you've got You've got kids that all came up through the youth group.
Yeah.
Now they're getting older. I've had kids come up through student ministry. Why and when did it become a priority, and why is it such a priority right now for you? Engaging, connecting, loving, sharing, you personally involved with the students at Milestone?
Well, we started, I mean, you can look at something, I think a lot of times we'll look at something from a pragmatic or strategic standpoint.
Right.
If you're going to reach people, you have to love what they love. Yeah. And there's nothing they love more than kids.
That's what Pastor Chris says.
When I came here to plant the church, no one was coming to the cafetorium. So I started coaching ball teams before my kids
That's a good idea.
were even in any ball.
Yeah.
I would say that to a church planter.
Yeah,
if you want to know where all the families are when they're not at your church, and they didn't play on Sunday when I grew up, but they do now.
Yeah, they do.
I went to
And
the
they
ball
travel.
fields, packed.
Yeah, travel ball.
So I got involved, and I still have families a part of our church today that I coached their little boys when they were this big, right? So we started understanding, yes, from a pragmatic standpoint, there's zero tolerance for subpar next-gen ministry today. There's zero tolerance. But I think the heart, though, right? Like the family, I have a fatherly instinct. So our church has a familial nature to it. And so at the end of the day, they're not your kids and their kids, they're our kids.
Yeah, that's good.
And so families...
You're owning it all.
Families produce sons and daughters.
Yeah.
It's not a program. I think where we mess up is maybe we need a better program or a better youth pastor or better pizza. No, you need a bigger heart for the next generation.
Wow, that's huge. And what I've loved, I've spoke here, I've been here a lot. You're in that for your meet. I'll see sometimes post on Instagram with a teenager. Or, I got to speak at your student ministry, had a blast.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like the older I get, the more I want to communicate to teenagers or college students. And so you personally are allowing that in your heart.
Yes.
You're not too busy, too big, too involved with something else. That a portion of your life is not noticing and leaning into students that are coming here to this church.
Well, I think we're all shaped some by our experiences.
Yeah.
Okay? My pastor, I felt called to ministry at 12.
Wow.
He discipled me in his home, and he let me preach in his pulpit at 16. I have a young man that's been hosting services here 14, 15, 16. So he's now entering our college. I signed him to an agreement. Everybody in America
Signing him up.
I signed him at 14.
Yeah, you ain't going nowhere. You're right here, help me build it.
But I think another thing the next generation is saying, will you let me have the ball? Do we just have to do kids church, or can we do big church?
Yeah.
Can we be on the team?
Yeah.
And the young people here feel this because it's really, I was a senior pastor at 21.
Yeah, I know.
So when I read the scripture, don't let anyone look down on you because you're young, it's real to me.
Yeah.
And they feel that. And some of the greatest, this may sound like preacher hype, some of the greatest potential developing, just amazing young pastors, leaders, hosts, worship people in our church are still young.
Yeah. That's true.
They're just coming up. And so I believe it's like a greenhouse where you're just raising plants.
Do you find some pastors feel intimidated with students?
Yeah, I think so.
That have that question, or I know you have people here coming to learn and model, but a lot of times I'll run into senior pastors, and they can be young, but they feel disconnected, they feel too old, they're not hyped up, it's not as trendy. And I've always felt like, I don't think they're looking for the trend, they're looking for the hype, they're looking for the heart. Looking for someone to love them.
Yes.
And I see the senior pastors Jacob Aranza, Chris Hodges, yourself, Steve Robinson's engaged. I was just at a youth camp, a small camp, but that pastor was there all service, every service.
Yeah.
And it's small, and he was engaged.
Yeah.
But it's like, you just got to get over yourself.
Yeah.
And just know that what they're looking for is love and truth and guidance.
You don't care how cool your big brother is. You don't care how cool your dad is. You definitely don't care how cool your coach is.
Oh, no.
Your coach is the most uncool, wearing bike short, got a whistle. But every kid will point back to a teacher, a coach, a big brother, a father figure, your granddad. I would say to older Pat, you're needed more than ever because they need those influences in their life.
100% agree. Pastor Jeff, one of the things you love hosting people. You have conferences here. You host the January dates where you have people come in, you're praying, you're seeking God, men's conferences, all kinds of conferences. You host pastors.
Yes.
You love pastors. You love church planters. You've been so good to our church planters. And rooms like this, space like this, is important to you for what reason?
Well, it's the first thing is even just our people, a place. So this is an indoor-outdoor. Those are nano walls that'll open up. So on a cool day in the fall in Texas, you could have it open. It's 5,000 square feet. Wintertime, fireplace, going to have nice lighting, and so our people can come in here and
just be
spend
together.
time and have. I think small groups are more challenging to have now with our busy schedule, so you can do some of it on campus after a service. But then, hosting people, pastors, our event in January, hosting ARC, different things. We can just host people here, love on them, add value to them.
We're in the works of, we're going to do ARC 24 in Birmingham. We're in the works of doing ARC conference here in spring of 25. Which would be an amazing, because, I mean, you've added the park, you've added all this square feet.
I can see us hosting those pastors.
Oh my God.
Just loving
and how much you love young pastors, you love startup churches. I was at a startup church that's 3 years old in Waco this weekend. And even in that setting, we're trying to teach them, do your best. Give it your best. Create the best environment you can. And this foyer you use it. And do everything you can to make people feel welcome, noticed, seen. You've done that from the cafetorium to here. Because one of the things that's important to you is developing people. And you have a heart to develop men.
Developing them, pouring into them. People, it's nice to have nice facilities now, but you'll go to even a challenging facility that has great people and good food. So you can overcome it.
One thing that I've always loved about you is you value relationship. You value relationship where you are submitted to some relationships. You have peers, friends, uncles, cousins, brothers. And then you also value relationship where you're raising people up. We've talked about that. You got a great staff, a lot of young people. You've got good friends. What has accountability meant to you in the idea of leading a church like this, having people in your life, whether older spiritually, older in age, further down the road and building something, your family as a dad? To me, I feel like you seek that out.
Definitely. I mean, accountability, there's no structure, there's no government, there's no structure that can produce accountability. It has to be in your heart. And there's no way. So
many people are waiting on it to come to them.
Pastor Jim LaFoon, who's a spiritual father, been in my life since I was in my early 20s. My wife would call him, hey, here's a challenge. We were praying over one of our kids' situation just this week, and then he's calling and we're praying, and Steve Robinson, who's been like my calculated older brother friend.
For all of us.
For all of us. If you need a plan for your life, he's your man. You know what I mean? And honestly, there's no way this would be here without his investment in my life. Coach Tom Mullen's been a spiritual father. All the input you give me, think about this ideas, we had 5,000 people serving the Metroplex this year. That's because of my relationship with you.
Hey, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Unscripted. We want to take a moment to say thank you to Vapor Ministries for helping make this episode possible. Vapor Ministries mobilizes the church to bring physical relief and spiritual transformation to people living in extreme poverty. Check out this video to learn more about the amazing work they do and how you can be a part.
On October 9th, 1995, God taught me very personally that at the end of the day, life is like a vapor, like a mist that appears for a moment. But along with that wake-up call came a question, and the question was simply this, right? Life is a vapor. Will we waste it or invest it? You have one life to live, so run hard and stay the course.
Your mind and body are stretched. Building the local church, pastoring, serving, teaching. Yet your heart stirs for souls in distant lands. You want to touch the poorest. You want to reach the lost. But how? Let your hands hold the hurting. Let your feet carry the good news. Bring social, economic, and spiritual revival to underreached communities while you transform yours. Join the life-giving churches ensuring food, clean water, quality education, and vital health services get to people trapped in desperate poverty. Partner with a spirit-led movement where deed meets word. Help the unreached find the arms of Jesus. Want to mobilize your church amongst the less reached and underserved? Together, we will reach millions.
Life is really all about relationships. But I think the question really is, does anybody have the trump card on you? I love to ask pastors, who can tell you no? And I have a handful of people in my life, if they said, I'm going to pause at least, no question I'm going to pause. If they say, now you don't get 10 of those a week. But if you come and play that and say, hey, I really have a check, then I think every pastor should be like, hey, back up. And I think we should be the kind of people that say, hey, if you see something, if you see me headed toward, I want you to tell me. Please tell me, you know?
That's where, I think what you said is so much. You have to seek it. It has to be in your heart. Pastor Chris and I talk a lot about that. Is that there are people that are like, why is anyone not taking care of me? Well, if you're going to be a friend, you got to show yourself friendly.
Exactly.
And I spoke a while back on the idea is you be that friend, you be that person first. Don't just wait on it all to come to you. But be that leader, be that son, be that servant.
Serve
be the one who listens.
Serve someone else. And a big thing I would say to a lot of young pastors, at some point you got to get out of the kiddie table. To be a father means you move up and say, hey, how can I contribute, not just receive? And so you look for relationships with people. It's not, you're not manipulating, you're doing it out of a heart to say, hey, I want to care about tell me, what do you care about? How can I help you? If you, it's in the Bible. I mean, the person who's generous will look up and go, what happened, right? And so, I think all of us as pastors should look for more opportunities to have a more generous heart toward what other people are doing around our lives.
And I think being proactive.
Be proactive.
You cannot wait for it to come to you. I've seen you get on a plane, fly to Birmingham
100%.
to spend time together. I've seen you get on a plane, fly to Birmingham, spend an afternoon with Pastor Chris,
100%.
Steve, Jacob, on and on. Go learn.
Go learn, yes. And those have been game changers. I'm telling you.
Cool.
Yeah.
The expansion. How many seats have we started with?
We started with 1,600.
And now?
It's going to be 2,500.
Wow. Jeff, when you've spoke at ARC or you've led roundtables, a lot of times you talk about the preaching of the word. Theology, the sacred scripture that is preeminent to you. And so why have you always valued that? And how are you communicating that to all the different ears that are hearing you online, additional seating in here? Give us a minute on preaching the word.
Well, you have to start with the word. Okay, I think a lot of times we start with the felt need. I'm not against. I love Tim Keller's book on preaching because I think he does a great job of combining the fact that we can be expositional. People get into expository. Are you expository? Well, as soon as you
explain what expository is in 10 seconds.
It'd be focusing on the text and speaking from the text. And some would say that's only preaching through a book of the Bible, or that's only preaching line by line or verse by verse. But anytime you now move from the text and comment, you're now making commentary on the text, right?
Sure.
But I understand that. I think every young pastor and leader should take a class in hermeneutics.
Okay.
That word sounds, Herman what? Okay.
Munster?
It's proper interpretation of the scripture. Okay. So I'll hear people sometimes say something that sounds revelatory, and you're like, that's really cool, but it isn't actually what the text. We have to ask, what did the text originally mean? And it's okay to make application. It's even okay to go, there's debate about this. Here's what my thoughts are. But we have to start with the text. So I grew up with that heritage. I mean, I have that education, theological education. I think it's still valuable to take some of that, you know, and I think you then want to know your audience as well. Like, I think a lot of times we'll, you know, be like going to France and speaking Spanish. Like, I understand, I'm from Texas. I'm educated in Texas, grew up here. I understand these people, and then I also understand now and have had to grow and expand in my thought as people are moving to Texas from everywhere.
And then you're speaking out at conferences and other churches internationally. You're writing books. You're an author. You're putting together small group curriculum, which is phenomenal. You're teaching these series. So you keep growing as a communicator.
And at the end of the day, the word works.
Yes,
it's living and active. It's timeless. So we don't. I think the number one trap I see young pastors is trying to be insightful or revelatory. And I'm not saying that some people don't have revelatory gifts, but in general, the Bible is Chipotle. You don't get, you know, it's not Jack in the Box where you can get a hamburger, you can get a taco, fish sticks, whatever. The Bible is kind of like chicken, beef, rice, do you want guacamole? In general, it's saying the same thing. It's centered around Jesus, the message of the gospel, his church. I think amazing is the majority of the New Testament is getting these people to get along and work together to advance the gospel, you know? And so...
Yeah, when you read the letters that Paul writes to the church, a lot of it is that.
It is that.
Get along, work together, build something for the glory of Jesus,
Endure.
Yeah.
I will say this, and you do this really well. We want to be textually accurate. We want to be biblical. We want to give what the Word says. We want to bring application to people's lives. But I think a lot of times we think these things are mutually exclusive. The biggest thing, though, too, is the world today, you know, people come here. I have to always remind myself, they got a sickness, they got an issue, they got a kid, they got a problem.
Anxiety.
They got anxiety,
Stress.
they got stress, they got problems. So if you build an atmosphere that is both biblical and encouraging, even when the Bible gets strong, and it does, 100%. It still has an element of, hey, here's the hope. Here, I mean, this is my heart for you. So I use a lot of self-deprecating humor. Make fun of yourself. Don't take yourself so serious. Be authentic. I think polished is out. And I think authentic is in. So even if you mess up, if you're just real with them, you know, show them your heart. Show them what you're going through. Be appropriately transparent. But I mean, I still think we have to hold on to what the Scripture is actually saying.
I think a lot about when I'm given the opportunity to share or speak, no matter what size, I think a lot about, okay, the Bible, we're just going to do the Bible. The Bible works. We could just read it and do it. I mean, that's all we need. That's all we need. But then I'll think about the one person. I think a lot about what you just described, the one person who parked, who walked in the door, who tried to get their kids in kids' church, tried to get in, get a little late, missed a worship song. They're unfamiliar to this type of space and environment. And I pray for that person.
Me too.
Before I preach, I pray in the morning. I get up thinking about that one individual, and am I going to be able to connect with that person? And I know you and I talk a lot about that. As things grow, and you're able to expand your communicating in a lot of different forms and platforms, the heart is always the sacredness of Scripture, and to me, the one.
I think that's why I stand in the foyer and shake hands. It keeps me in touch with humanity. It helps my preaching.
Of course.
Because when I get up and preach, I'm thinking about that kid or that single mom or that hurting person. If we get absorbed too much into our studies, and then we only listen to each other and insightful preachers, or we try to be, we're losing sight of
brilliant unto ourselves.
You know?
How do you transfer that to your team and to your staff, where they just don't see a big crowd? We're just moving people through. It's just another event. It's another weekend. What are you doing as a leader to make sure that TLC, that touch, that individual care, that custom lean in is happening at your team level? Because that's got to trickle down.
I have to be self-aware. I mean, some of it's my gift. I have a pastoral instinct, a fatherly instinct. I have that. You know, I don't believe. I think there was a lie perpetrated that you couldn't grow a large church and be a pastor.
Yeah.
You can't be a shepherd because shepherds only have small. But my point is, God will never let you shepherd a bigger amount of sheep if you can't take care of the ones you already have. Yeah. And so for me, I just started with a house and some sheep. Started loving on them and taking care of them. Now, yes, you have to strategically change, but they don't do what you say, they do what you do. So they see that in me, which transfers to the culture of people. They watch it, they see it. But then I think being intentional about it, I think we have to tell more stories. We work really hard at telling stories. This is really depressing. I'll get a text, I'll study, I'll spend hours, I get my message, I put all these notes together and tell some stupid story about me messing up somehow, or Brandy being upset with me, or a dog running. They remember the story. They walk out, they don't go, Leviticus 27 was so powerful.
He pulled that out. No, man. You see,
they go, man, that dog, man.
Brandy's mad at Jeff.
He's got a bald head. I mean, what's it, they remember because it humanizes. It humanizes you.
You're one of the best. I really mean that, Jeff. You're one of the best.
Well, that means
you're well-rounded, and I know we all believe, everybody that I'm friends with, that you're friends with, feels the same way. And then to be able to see what God has done here. And we hear the sound of expansion all around us, which a pastor loves hearing a drill and some machine running, because it's like, hey, that's the sound of growth. That's the sound of families.
That's the sound of
the sound of people coming to get freedom, get healing, get restored in their life. So I know that's why you love what's happening.
I know, even when people see this, or, our people, or you see growth, I want to say this, we're working as intentional or more intentional than ever to maintain the spirit and the culture that brought us to here. And it doesn't happen by accident. So you say, how do you do that? We've done very intentional staff meetings, telling stories in those staff meetings, making sure people are connected to those stories. We have text threads where we're celebrating people, not just numbers. The main thing. We're going to, before we open this, we're going to bring our dream team, serve team. We're going to bring all these leaders. We're going to talk to them. We're going to talk about heart. When we have the grand opening, it's not me and my wife and a Lamborghini, what I don't know. I mean, it's going to be you.
It's going to be you and some cowboy boots.
Me, you and you, and you help them. One thing, this is a little line, I can't take credit. Steve Chestnut, who's a genius on our team.
I love Steve.
He has this line that I stole and I tell our church. When you have a big expansion and more people are coming, don't show up looking for your seat. Show up helping somebody else find their seat.
Son.
I thought that was such a good line.
We've got to put
we
that.
Just started
we'll use that as a one-liner here.
Yep.
And we just kind of put, as Jeff Little, Dino, and Steve says, we'll add them there, but then we'll drop Chestnut after a while, and it'll just be one of our great quotes.
Because isn't that a dynamic that's so countercultural and people are amazed by? I'm coming in this building, everybody's kind of jockeying, and there's this person that's not worried about their seat. They're worried about me and my seat, or who are you in my seat? Who are you in the seat beside me? That is so powerful. It is so
longevity
powerful.
On a team is being a good noticer.
It's true.
You give me a good noticer, they're going to be on team for a while.
That's true.
And they're not noticing, what you're saying is you're not just noticing me, myself, and I. You're noticing the other people's journey.
So one of our young pastor connections leaders, this is my story from this week. I think we should always have a story of the week, not a story we've told from 6 months ago or 6 years ago.
Yeah, a new one.
This is my story this week. Ty Spinella, amazing, young connector here, part of the Keller campus. His son Tucker. This weekend, I wasn't here. I'm off taking study breaks.
And the church is growing while you're off.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Think about that.
Yeah, amazing, because the team, it's all about the team. And I heard this story. I said, hey, what happened this weekend? They're like, well, we had people everywhere in construction, and everybody went overboard to serve everybody, and it went great, and it was amazing. And we baptized 45 students in the 12:30 service, which was crazy.
Let's go
in one
down
service,
to the water.
It was like just amazing. But I love this story. He said, you know what story? I said, tell me the story from the weekend. He said, Tucker, Ty's son, Jeff
How
Peltier,
old is he?
He's a little big guy.
Okay.
Jeff Peltier told me his story was Ty's son Tucker invited his teacher. He said, I met this teacher. I said, well, how'd you come? She said, well, Tucker's in my class. Tucker invited me. I came because of Tucker.
Yeah, Tucker.
You know what a great church is?
Yeah.
Tucker.
Yeah.
Tucker. inviting his teacher.
And she came.
And she came, and everybody welcomed her and loved her in the middle of a bunch of construction. That's what a great church
Let's go, Tucker.
Let's go, Tucker.
Yeah, I want to be like Tucker.
Yeah, we're going to ordain Tucker this week.
He's the newest member of the pastoral staff.
Exactly right.
Pastor T.
Pastor T.
Oh, it's been good to see the facility.
Yeah, it's exciting.
I can't wait to see it when it opens in just
August,
6-8 weeks.
August 12th to 13th is the first weekend we have it open.
Yeah, sort of.
The last weekend in August is going to be the grand opening for this kind of soft opening, 12th and 13th.
Yeah.
And really
You'll be rolling in this fall.
Rolling into fall. Really excited for, I went to Israel, took some of our folks and went and shot videos.
Okay.
Major miracles of Jesus. Wow. Went to the major miracle places.
Sites.
And I think a lot of people are, they're intrigued by miracles. They want to know, there's a lot of intrigue and yet a lot of undereducation about why the miracles of Jesus. And what do I do?
Yeah, how would that affect me?
How would that apply to me? How do we know? Is there a formula? What does that look like? And so I went there. I'm going to have a little resource book. We're going to do it with our small groups. I'm going to be introducing it the last 2 weekends in August, and then this whole fall. Then everyone will be doing it together.
You guys create and distribute great resources. So there's been 4 or 5 of these.
Yes.
Small group, church preaching, all age. Everybody's kind of hitting the same nail.
Yeah.
We're all driving this nail in.
Yes.
It's going to be about miracles right now in this fall. But you've done one on seeds. You've done one on closer.
Yes.
You do your gathering called Prepare in January. What is that? That's being intentional. But with all those moments, always there's a resource.
Years ago, Rick Warren. I mean, he kind of started us on this track of 40 Days of Purpose and kind of gets you going. But I really bought into it because it can put the whole church synergized together in one place. There's something for someone to read. There's a message to receive from. And I would say to any pastor, just to be honest, you can go to our resource site on our webpage, and you can go there and it has things for the kids. It has the resources, the books. That's something that, for us as a church. In today's world, engaging people in small groups, my opinion, it's the most effective way to create energy, buy-in, and connect, them to really connect to it is, hey, this is a big deal. There's a resource. I can grow. I can learn, and it helps them get really engaged.
And you've been doing that with men.
Yes.
Personally, small group. You put together a great resource tool for that. Called Way to Win. I think we've got one right here. Grab it and show it.
The Way to Win book.
Give me a minute on how this came about and why this is so important to you.
Well, it's used. I mean, a man could get that.
Yeah.
You could give it to your son. You could read it. It's outlined in such a way that a man could receive from it. Let me give you the main thesis of it. The worst thing in life is not to have a scoreboard with less points. We all have a scoreboard.
Yeah.
Every man has a scoreboard. Yep. Whether it's money, job, trophy wife, toys, we all have a scoreboard. The worst thing in life is not to have a scoreboard with less points. It's to light up a scoreboard and realize you played the wrong game.
Yeah.
Paul says, we're all running the race.
Yep.
Let's run in a way to win. So I talk about how to win at the things that matter most. And I'm fortunate as a pastor, I've sat at the bedside of people when this whole thing's over.
Yeah.
And what they're not talking about is their 401k.
Yeah.
They are talking about these things that really matter. And so this is, I would say to every pastor, and I really mean this, Lee Domain is my great friend, and Highland's legacy. And Highlands is using this now.
Sure.
And here's the tool.
We've sent it out to a lot of ARC pastors.
But what's happening is Lee is going to churches and they say, well, I heard that Milestone, they raised $21 million for that building. If you want to get a pastor's attention, then say, hey, we raised $21 million for a building, because every pastor needs buildings, take care of people, right? Mm-hmm. And we get beat up by people that don't understand or don't have to care about that. But at the end of the day, we don't care about buildings. We care about people.
Exactly.
But to get buildings, you have to have the resources. So what happens is they'll invite Lee in and say, we need a legacy team. We need to build a legacy team, teach people about over and above giving and tithing and this. but what's the farm system for a legacy group? The truth is, you got to build that guy. We're asking them, hey, we know they have that gift, and we're saying, hey, we want you to participate in this and use your gift, but we haven't asked them, what do you want? The way to win is, here's what they want. They want what you and I want. Why are you and I friends? Because we coach each other, develop each other, resource each other. Dino, let me tell you about this.
Care
I got
about
that.
each
I
other's
got care about that.
family and kids and life.
So these groups are outside of our small group system. We call them development groups. Invite only, 1 year for someone that wants to come into a church-based life coaching, spiritual grow, develop environment over a 1 year period, about 10 months. And a lot of pastors get hung up on that. They go, does not compute, has to fit in my small group system. Okay, these people were trying to compute. They don't herd. They want to be selected.
Yeah.
So I would tell every pastor, if there's a pastor out there, 100, 200, 300, whatever, 400 people, and he's like, man, I just want to jumpstart this. I've a lot of these guys already doing it, and I wish I had them to give some testimony. Take some of them. Just invest in them. Yeah. Just begin to pour into them. The Way to Win was a resource to help with that.
Right.
Yeah.
And they, one of the things that I've seen that, and you share a lot of it, you did it yourself to individuals.
Oh, yeah.
This wasn't crafted all these years in massive groups.
No.
The chapters, the thoughts, the truth came from small groups, one-on-one encounters, about you learning to pastor and learning how to pastor people that may had a different experience than you.
True.
You've leaned into the men, and it's as much their story as it is your story.
Very much so, yeah. It was a 15-year period of doing this 6 a.m. in the morning. Sometimes I would lead 2 groups a year. Yeah. And it was the resource, actually, they helped me, the men that have gone through it, help me say, hey, here's what we're struggling with. They want to know the Bible. Well, they're intimidated. So I gave them a little section in there. It's cliff notes on here's the core concepts, and I'll help you get started and jump started. You have to be intimidated. Kids, where does a man who's out there who doesn't want to tell anybody, where does he get help with that? Well, I talk about that, right? What about marriage? What about family? What about your money? What about, how do you balance? I'm in business and I'm also wanting to be a part of the, how do you do that? So short chapters, because they're going to read them under the dome light of the car before they walk into the meeting. Short chapters,
the dome light,
and good discussion.
The dome light. Y'all have a meeting in January called Prepare. You pastors here. You always give special time to church planters.
Yes,
you've been one of the biggest supporters of ARC, not only ARC the organization, but also to that individual church planter.
Yes,
you love church planter. You've not forgotten.
No,
which I think is massive.
Yes,
Jeff. Don't forget your own pathway, your own struggle. You've not forgotten that. You've spoken at ARC conferences. And so why do you feel like planting new churches? Why are you involved with ARC? And why do you have such a heart for planters?
Well, I mean, you cannot read the Bible and not understand that it's Jesus' church, right? I mean, the church is central. So if we want to have families and we get all stirred up about politics, we get stirred about this, we get stirred up about issues, but it's the church that leads people to Christ. They're not going to change behaviors unless their heart changes. So I think we've learned over the last few years, we've looked to so many other things to be the solution. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it comes back to what Jesus said he would build. And it's his church. So if I believe that, if I believe the change that we want to see, the generational blessing that we want to see, the cities in America and around the world that we look at and go, there's too much darkness. It's the church. Yeah. It's the church. So if I believe that, then if you strike the shepherd, the sheep scatter, then we have to empower, we have to fuel, we have to encourage, we have to help finance, resource and help pastors. Like I don't have that as a program I really don't think you can do love pastors as we have that as a bucket. It's got to be in your heart.
Yeah, it does.
Because they have lots of needs, lots of things happening. And for us, I've been doing that since my early days because I've had so many people help me. Yeah. And I just want to give back to others, and help those pastors. But yes, love what ARC does. I get a chance to be a part of ARC-specific things. Yeah. I would love for this gathering we have is a milestone leadership type gathering in January, the first week after we get out of kind of the holidays, And we send
That's
things
on your
out.
website.
It's on our website, yeah. We called it a roundtable in the past. We're calling it a leaders gathering now because it's kind of outgrown a roundtable. Try to create some special environments for senior pastors to have some a little bit more connective atmospheres.
So good.
But
you did something I don't know if anyone's ever done at our art conference. We were able to get people the book, but then you turned around, and if somebody was a church planner that you signed their book, you gave them finances. Yeah. If they are like, hey, I'm getting ready to start a church.
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Because let me tell you what they don't need. They have a lot of books.
A few.
You know what they don't need? I'll be praying for you.
Yeah.
They got a lot of prayer. What they need is some money.
Amen. Amen.
And so, I mean, look, I've been there. I have a heart for them. Most of them, they serve. They don't get to go on vacations. I'll say, man, go on a vacation. I'll bless them. Because if we can fuel them, it's really not about the check you give them. You know what it does? It ignites their faith, and it makes them, the enemy's lies, I don't matter. I'm not going to make it.
Yeah, I was
God's
remembered.
not with me.
Yeah.
And it makes them walk away going, God sees me.
God, yes.
What a blessing.
Is so, Billy Hornsby, that was the heartbeat of ARC. Let's just go resource some couples who have a dream.
Yes.
Because they ain't got no resources.
I love Brother Billy.
And the leadership team now, your friends, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Let's just resource them.
Yes.
We'll get them the other things, but they need resources to get started. To impact that community, to populate heaven, plunder hell, and be all about the work of Jesus.
100%.
And so that's what, we thank God for that, whether it's through serving in our serve days or through ARC or through the things that you're doing. But I just appreciate the time. I know you just got off of a trip. Now we're in the fall.
Yeah.
And we're building church or getting in a building. You're reaching people. And anything else you want to say to a young pastor?
The thing, when I look back on it, it's going to work out. Like I would say, and I was not great at this, enjoy the journey. Yeah. Enjoy the journey along the way. And don't forget about the people and take care of the people that you love the most. Keep connected to your family. Keep your team together. Don't get so consumed by quote unquote success that you miss the moment. And you look up one day, and even if you get some of these things, if it all falls apart, why are we in such a hurry?
God, you can say that
why are we in such a hurry?
Yeah, calm down.
Just calm down. It's just because someone on Instagram you're looking at that has this. This is not a marathon. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. And just settle in. If the gift's in you, the call's on you, God has His hand on you, it's going to happen. Jesus builds His church. Yeah. And the next thing I would say to them, again, family, friends. I mean, I still have the same people that helped me start the church. Like a lot of my senior team, we've been together for 20 years. Is that because I haven't been an idiot before, but I've been willing to apologize? Get over offenses, keep those people close, your family. But I mean, along the way in the journey, as a young pastor, I think today we have other pressures that I didn't have. I was hidden in obscurity. Yeah. And
comparison was not as in the forefront.
Was not in the forefront. But the number one thing I would also say is this. You don't need a big donor. Thank God for ARC and thank God for people like us that resource you. You don't need something from the outside. If you build the people will build the church. Wow. That's what they do. So make it their church, build them, love them, disciple them, pray for them. If you love them and build them, they will build the church. Quit trying to rob them of what God put them on the planet for. Let them participate in the process. And the only reason we go outside and I got to have this, could we get God swoop in somehow and just do everything and don't go through the process with people is we're trying to get there fast. You don't want to just build a church. You want to build a church that you want to go to one day, that your kids want to go to. Yeah. And if you'll build the people, that's what they do. They build His church.
Hey, what a great episode of Unscripted. If you want more info on Pastor Jeff Little or Milestone Church's resources, make sure you check out resources.milestonechurch.com. Also, if you're interested in learning more about planning a church or partnering with ARC in any way, you can visit our website arcchurches.com, and we would love to get you connected. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Unscripted.